Hello everyone and welcome to the Hunter Association, your source for all things Hunter x Hunter. My name is Kaige.
And my name is Dylan.
And in this week's episode, we will be covering Volume 37, Escape.
Oh baby, what a volume.
So someone's getting off the boat, I guess. That's hype. That's
yeah. Cool. Whoa. I wonder who's going to survive.
I don't know. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so before we get into the volume, of course, we got to do news. And there's not like anything too substantial this week. Togashi's still working on 418. Last week he was on page 11. Now he's on 14. So
3 whole pages. Not bad, not bad.
Not bad. But primarily he's been working on a color spread this whole week, and it's really beating his ass. He apparently yesterday he got some tips from another artist on a better posture to do coloring, so I guess that's helped a lot. And just this morning he tweeted, it was kind of, the wording on it was a little vague, so I wasn't exactly sure what he did, but I think he did storyboards up to 420. That seems to be what it is, because he said he did storyboards for 2 more chapters, and I assume that means 419 and 420, but he might be even further along in the storyboarding process than we know. So
yeah, and as a note, I think that was an approach he took out of caution to not hurt himself more doing an extensive amount of coloring, especially.
Yep.
So
yeah, he was working on something easier, because it's either inking or coloring right now is what he's been posting, but yeah.
But that does confirm seemingly that we'll at least get to 420 in this return to jump, so that's really exciting.
Yes, very exciting. And also, not really news, but fun fact here, this is September 1st that we're recording this on, which is the day that everybody met up in York New City.
Oh, yeah.
So very fitting there. It's a cool little thing.
Good little anniversary date there.
A classic date. Anything else we want to get out of the way before we get into the volume, really? We got a lot to cover this week, so.
Yeah, no, I'd say let's just jump into it. There's not really much other pieces of news that I can think of.
Yeah. Real quick, at the top of the show, I want to make it known, I cheated a little bit on this plot summary this week. I had a very chaotic week at work. I was getting home very late every day. Didn't have as much time to work on this as I would have liked to. And also, these are unbelievably wordy chapters, so I did take some text from the wiki, but I edited them. Like, it's not just one for one most of the time. Some of it is, I'll be real, but a lot of this I had to fact check, because some of the stuff on the wiki is just straight up wrong sometimes, which is really bizarre to me. But yeah, I had to cheat a little this episode. Sorry guys, had to be straight up about it.
I'm sure it won't be too crazy of a difference either way.
Probably not.
Yeah, this is going to be a very long episode, just as a heads up to all of our listeners as well. So be
buckle in. You might want to listen to this in multiple sessions, because it's going to be long.
There's a couple of infamous panels within this volume that a lot of people like to refer to online to talk about Hunter x Hunter nowadays, and it's wordiness to say the least. So
yeah, and we'll talk about those when we get to it. I'm sure we have stuff to say about them. All right. So let's dive into this long volume.
Here we go.
All right, welcome to the volume recap for Volume 37, Escape. On the cover this week, we have a painting of Morena, who doesn't even appear in this volume. So,
I found that so funny. I mean, I guess there's like
not the first time he's done this.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument to be made, like, there's a movement within her, like, faction, I guess, going on, but it is a little odd to me. I found it funny, though. Yeah.
It's a really cool painting, though. I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
And we also had a funny color page at the beginning of this volume, where it's all the characters, like, the 4 main characters, the 3 of them who are not present, saying, let's see, Killua is saying, "Where am I right now?" Great question.
Yeah, very good question.
Goen is saying, "Oh no, I can't use Nen." And Leorio, who, reminding you, he is on the boat, and he's saying, "More page time. Hey, Togashi, how about you just Draw him. He's right there.
Literally, you are the creator of this series.
You got no excuse for him. Come on. Whatever.
It's really funny how self-aware he is with that, though.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so diving in now. Here we go, guys. So we open back up in the interrogation room where Mizai is talking to Prince Fugetsu after she was found wandering around Tier 3. That's exactly where we left off last episode, if you forgot.
Mm-hmm.
Mizai tries to get information out of her and about how she ended up here, but Fugetsu says she will only speak to Prince Kacho. No matter what Mizai says, he can't get her to talk. Elsewhere, Melody receives a phone call from one of Mizai's men, and they inform her of Fugetsu's situation. This confirms her suspicion about Fugetsu's guardian spirit beast having a teleportation ability, and she wonders what to do about this, as she doesn't want anyone to know about it until they execute their plan. The caller warns her to keep a close watch on the two princes, worrying that they might be planning an escape. After the phone call, Melody relays the information to the other guard from the Hunter Association named Kini. Mizai and another man escort Fugetsu back to her quarters as she thinks about her ability and how it's just like a game she and Kacho played as kids. In this game, she would create a door, and once at the destination, the return door appears, but only Kacho can open it. As long as they closed the door, they could use the return door to go somewhere else. They called it their trip around the world, and it was their favorite game to play. Once back in her quarters, she promises not to sneak out again, but she is assigned an escort to monitor for 72 hours. Melody performs a song called Heil's Requiem on her flute for Queen Seiko and her supervisor. After Melody's performance, the queen enthusiastically compliments her and claims to be so entranced. On the other hand, the supervisor states that he never thought a requiem could have such an upbeat interpretation of it. Queen Seiko asks Melody to repeat the piece for the banquet, but Melody says she has another piece more fitting for the event. Nevertheless, the queen would be happy to hear her perform anything. So yeah, also if you forgot, we are hyping up and gearing up for the next banquet. That is the big event to look forward to right now.
Yeah, a lot of princes are planning stuff for the banquet. We know that Sale was promising to change the world at the banquet. Whatever he had in mind. I'm sure that'll be awesome to see.
I'm really excited to see how he does that.
Yeah, I find it really funny, by the way, that like the whole like teleportation ability is framed as like their favorite game as children, when like didn't even really like. It's not really a game. Well, I guess it was kind of a game to them.
I think it is just like playing pretend.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Really sweet, nonetheless. How symbolic that is. So.
Yeah, it's really cool. The supervisor then takes his leave. He also compliments Melody's work and guesses that she might be able to protect the prince until landfall. Melody states she doesn't want to stand out and call the attention to the other princes, or call the attention of the other princes. He invites Melody to call him if anything happens, but the latter reminds him of the consequences of having telephone records and that the other princes might have access to them. The supervisor then suggests making an excuse, such as saying that the prince is acting strangely, which would give his organization a reason to monitor the prince. He wants to help Melody and the prince and hopes that King Nasubi might still change his mind if he is moved with words. Doubtful. Silently, Melody examines his heartbeat, thinking that it sounds so strange and that it is possible for him to be manipulated by a Nen user. She guesses that the enemies are already coming up with defensive strategies. With 76 hours left until the banquet, she hopes for things to go smoothly until then. Okay. In Sale's quarters, Rihan notices that Sale's Nen Beast has finally taken effect on Koro Abde.
Yeah, that's the first prince's guard, right?
Yeah, that's Benjamin's dude. He concludes that it manifests around 70 hours after inhaling the smoke from Sale's guardian Nen Beast. So this is... Rihan in the last volume was trying to figure out how Sale's ability worked, because he knows that if you breathe in a certain amount, you like kind of fall for Sale, not like romantically, but you really respect
like a follower of his, essentially.
Yeah. And he was trying to figure out how long it would take somebody who doesn't really care about him at all to do it, and he figures about 70 hours now.
Yep. Because the more information he has, the more the predator grows and, becomes stronger against the target.
Yep. However, it only takes about 8 hours for the prince's closest associates to be on the maximum level of affection. He also guesses that the guardian spirit beast can affect the minds of the entire kingdom, ending in an absolute dictatorship. Rihan then activates his ability Predator and summons the most horrific looking thing I've ever seen, and has it eat Sale Sale's Nen Beast whole. That thing is seriously wicked looking.
It's kind of terrifying. It's also really cool though that it's kind of implied that the Predator will actually change form depending on whatever target it is. But,
I wonder about that. That is neat.
It's it's cool. It's cool looking though. Also very terrifying.
Yes. Rihan states that his mission is complete, and after that move, he will not be able to use Nen for 48 hours. So Nen in general, according to him, I believe,
which
is pretty crazy. Yeah, that's a big condition. He then calls and requests to switch places with somebody named Yu Shohei. It doesn't really matter who it is, but whose Nen ability is the most suitable for assassinations. Yu Shohei relays all the known information about Fugetsu's ability to Rihan, and he says that if he gives everything away like that, it will neutralize his ability. So yeah, it's more on the explanation we got of his ability last time. So it's just an added rule, which I can't remember if we learned last time or not, but if he learns from an outside source and not himself, it has the potential to just completely cancel out his ability altogether.
Yeah, so it was implied whenever his ability was introduced, I believe, that he needed to deduce information without prior knowledge. Right. That being said, I think this is the first time we've known that, that we've seen explained that it would just completely neutralize his ability if it goes past a certain point, which is interesting.
Definitely. Yu Shohei thinks to himself that it's only a matter of time before assassins come after Fugetsu, now that it's known that her ability is non-combative. He states that his Nen ability, How to Get Away with Murder, is terminated once its target moves more than 20 meters away from him. Because he was worried about clashing with the other Nen users, he held his N back, making him fail to track the prince escaping. That's Fugetsu he's talking about. However, he was successful in attaching his Stinger Ball to Prince Fugetsu. Whatever that is. Yeah, everything he says about his ability here is really vague. It's not explained. He's just talking as if we already know about it.
Also, maybe we don't really get any elaboration on this past this. So
no, we don't. Maybe later.
Yeah.
Additionally, he is on the lookout for another possible bodyguard that could use Nen and kill the princes like Tufty, who is the one that Hanzo took out. Then he receives an order to change places with Rihan. Then at 8 p.m. on the 5th day of the voyage, an announcement is made across the ship stating that a stowaway has been captured, or that the stowaway has been captured, and the lockdown order has been lifted. 72 hours remain until the next banquet. What is this panel I put here? Oh, it's just that dude, I guess. I don't even know why I put that there.
Who knows?
Anyways, as Prince Hulkenberg and 5 of his guards approach his father's chambers, the soldiers think he's here to deliver another letter. So that's Prince Hulkenberg has been periodically, every day, going to see his father about trying to get the whole thing called off. But suddenly, Hulkenberg and his men all draw their weapons and hold them at gunpoint. Hulkenberg says it took 4 days to get the soldiers to lower their guard, but he made it in time before another of his siblings was killed. Facing away, King Nasubi sits at the end of the room full of extravagant paintings and furniture as Hulkenberg walks towards him with his gun drawn. The king insists that Hulkenberg consented to the ritual, but the prince says he was never told that they would be killing one another. Nasubi stresses the importance of being able to adapt, but Hulkenberg threatens to shoot him if he doesn't suspend the contest. The king says it's out of his hands now, ordering his son to take action himself and saying that hypocrisy is the most disgusting thing. Bidding farewell to his father, Hulkenberg fires one shot, and the bullet appears to freeze in mid-air inches away from Nasubi's face. He tells him that he should fire 3 shots if he means to kill, and adds that he's part of the ritual now, unable to die until it ends. Very interesting there.
Yeah, wow. That's big information, I suppose. Yeah. I don't really have many things to add to that. That's just cool.
Yeah, Hulkenberg in this scene in general is just really awesome. I got a lot of respect for him after this part. The king's butler enters the room and tells Hulkenberg that he and his men will not be punished for their actions since it was all within expected parameters. In response to this, Hulkenberg turns the gun on himself, shooting himself in the head. It obviously doesn't work. Resting on his shoulders, his Nen beast holds the bullet inches from his head, the same way it happened with Nasubi.
Mm-hmm.
Nasubi asks if he's awake now and brings up the classic prisoner's trolley thought experiment. Hulkenberg is annoyed by this and asks if he means that he has to choose between Kakin citizens or his siblings, and Nasubi quickly rebukes him, saying that the country and the lives of its people must always come first, but that it's a matter of who pulls the lever. He stresses that Hulkenberg can't change the country unless he becomes king, and that he should tell him he doesn't need a king after he becomes one. In Hulkenberg's quarters, Shikaku wakes up to Prince Benjamin raiding over to him. Shikaku finds it odd that he was sleeping when Benjamin was out and realizes that he must have been attacked by his Nen beast. Benjamin informs him of the situation but says the king is safe. However, Hulkenberg has awakened and has the resolve to go all out now. Hulkenberg and his guards return, and Benjamin orders Shikaku to kill him as well as take his ability. Shikaku, by the way, I've just been casually saying his name. He's the Benjamin soldier that's stationed there.
Yeah.
Shikaku activates his ability, Yukio Cold Sept.
What a name.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which we don't exactly know how it works, but when he does this, he forms a card to protect himself from Hulkenberg's incoming attacks. So it must be some kind of card-related ability, obviously, with that name.
Tagashi knew what he was doing, naming it that. That's funny.
Oh, of course, yeah. Where was it? The armor to protect himself. Yeah, okay. His own aura turns into a bow, which then fires an arrow. He pulls back the bow and fires towards Shikaku, easily piercing his card shield. In addition to Shikaku, one of Hulkenberg's men also falls to the floor, and it's stated that if Hulkenberg's arrow pierces the enemy, it robs its host of its will in exchange for the body of one of his followers. Moreover, the arrow can't be intercepted or blocked once the bow is drawn. Shikaku rises to his feet and asks the prince's orders as a specter image of Hulkenberg's fallen guard stands behind Shikaku, the guard's body still lying on the floor. I wrote that kind of weirdly, but yeah, basically it seems as if that one guard of Hulkenberg's is now in the body of Shikaku.
Really interesting ability, and I also want to make it slightly more clear in that it's like, so basically his Hulkenberg's own aura. Sorry, it's been a long day already. His own aura is like forms the bow essentially, but he takes the aura of his followers as like the arrow, and
correct.
So he uses his followers' aura to actually make that attack.
Right. Yeah, he's firing his followers' aura into another person. Basically, is what's happening.
Very cool ability.
Yes, it is really cool. Hulkenberg is sick. Elsewhere, Kurapika feels the rumbling of aura, saying that it's the second one so far and wants to keep track of when and where any more rumblings come from. He's glad that the assassin hasn't struck in a while, but he now worries about this new threat, especially if it's coming from only one individual. He realizes he has to stay calm, noting that one's self is their own worst enemy in a race of endurance. All right, guys, here we go. In Prince Saleh Saleh's quarters, he isn't looking too good. It seems he's unable to breathe, as one woman sits on his chest attempting CPR, while another one calls for help. Yushohi stands by and watches, while likely raiding over to Benjamin to say that his assassination was a success. Rip Saleh Saleh, my man. Too soon. No.
We didn't get
Why?
to see him change the world, man.
He was gonna change the world.
What was he gonna do? What was he gonna say?
This is messed up, man. I
Rest in
can't
peace.
believe it. I'm so heartbroken. That was our boy. He was gonna do so much. Do you have any idea what he was gonna do, guys? Me
No,
either.
we would never
But probably
will, yeah.
something. Yeah, probably something crazy.
Our second victim. He couldn't have lasted a little bit longer. Man.
Somebody's got to take Rihan and you show he out. These guys don't deserve to live. It's messed up.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Saleh Saleh.
Well, 12 princes remain now. He's gone, guys. I'm sorry. We got to move past it, though. We then jump to 8 p.m. on the 8th day of the voyage, where the highly anticipated banquet begins. Melody, Fugetsu, and Kacho all look on with a nervous expression. Man, I can't get over it.
Yeah, right before the banquet, too. It was
Dude,
right there.
I know. He didn't have to go much longer. He could have changed the world and then died.
Yeah. Man. Unfortunate.
So anyways, the banquet, we're on the day of the banquet now. The banquet begins, and it is announced that Saleh Saleh's performance was canceled due to an illness. Yeah. Illness.
Illness. Yeah, he's totally alive, guys.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Kachu and Fugetsu are informed of the changes, but neither is worried since the performance order will stay the same. With 90 minutes left until their plan starts, Melody is happy to see that the first and second princes are absent, since they are both likely Nen users. We then get to see the schedule. So, first up is a freestyle rap battle between Basho and Ridge from the Hunter Association.
I wish we got to see that.
We were robbed. I want to see that.
When the
We also-
anime eventually adapts this arc, and maybe they can dedicate some extra time to it.
Please. We do also learn later that originally Saleh Saleh was going to rap, apparently. So that also would have been legendary.
God, we were right there, man. We were right there.
It just had to make it a little longer. Well, anyways, after that is a dance performance from staff, not just, I guess, random people. I don't know. Then a rock band with Izunavi and Guiliano. I want to see that too, man. Come on. Acapella chorus with 6 princes' personal guards. And then an intermission. Then a talk show with Tamazo and Gantai. I don't even know who those people are.
Who are they?
No clue. Then a piano solo from Kini. Then the flute solo from Melody. And then we end off with Kacho and Fugetsu's harp thing. We get a brief montage of the first 5 acts, and then the focus shifts to room 1013, where a guard of Prince Mariam is talking to Verge and Biscuit about the fact that the servants who left to perform at the banquet won't be able to return to the Nen space. So yeah, that's a whole ongoing thing. If you forgot again, that room is all messed up because of Mariam's Nen beast. If you leave, you can't go back. Verge explains that it's for the best since a servant backing out of the banquet at the last minute could be seen as a threat, possibly leading to Mariam and Queen Savanti having to go back to the real room for questioning. He hopes that they'll be able to stay hidden until they reach their destination. Biscuit agrees but suggests moving the hunters to the real room in order to make things seem more natural as well as to lessen the burden on the servants. Verge asks what Biscuit will do, and she says she'll stay, but since he'll need a... Wait, hold on, what? Verge asks... She'll stay put. Oh, sorry. Since he'll need a woman around. Mariam calls for her, and she adds that the prince likes her, letting him sit on her shoulders as Verge looks on in delight, thinking to himself, how can she be so sweet?
He's so down bad, guys.
He really is, man. At the banquet, Kini plays his piano solo as Melody and the twins wait for their acts. Fugetsu asks her sister if she's nervous, and Kacho says she's not, and that she refuses to consider failure. After Kini's performance, Melody comes on stage. The twins put in earbuds, telling a soldier that they're going over their music. Melody says to herself that if she plays sincerely, she can entrance everyone who listens for 3 minutes. And once she begins to playing the flute, we get to see a gorgeous panel, and And so does everybody in the audience, apparently. Even the princes who are absent, since the performance is playing over the loudspeaker. And yeah, this panel, guys, is drop dead gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
I could look at that all day. Yeah, it's incredible. Wow. While this is going on... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't have much else to add. Yeah, just wow.
No, it's just beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Stunning. So while this is all going on, Kaige leads the twins outside the banquet hall to the lifeboats. He goes over the details with them, telling them only to use their ability as a last resort if they're about to get caught. If the door doesn't appear when they imagine Kaige, they should head back to their room on the ship, and they'll come up with another plan afterwards. Melody continues playing and says to herself that she still never once saw Kacho's Nenbeast, hoping that the escape is successful. The twins enter the lifeboat, and it speeds away down the tunnel. Kaige then pulls out a gun, and we flash back to an earlier scene between him and Melody, this time with dialogue. So this was kind of in the background of a previous scene. We didn't get to see what they said between each other, though, until now. Kaige tells her that his wife and daughter died in an accident 2 years ago, and he's been looking for a place to die ever since. The Hunter Association could be blamed if any accomplices are found affecting their mission. He says he'll be proud to see his family again and to have saved the twins' lives. Melody had heard his heartbeat at that moment and couldn't convince him otherwise. Back in the present, Kaige brings the gun to his head and shoots himself. A tear comes to Melody's eye as she continues her performance. Rest in peace, Kaige. We didn't know him for long, but that was a very impactful death, I thought.
That was righteous. Yeah. No, what?
Yeah.
That was so real. And then I love the touch of like Melody, like implying that like she heard his heartbeat go out as she's doing the performance. Yep. And so
yeah, that was a really great scene. This whole chapter, by the way, that I've been reading through here is incredible. I think it's one of the best in the series.
It's my favorite of this arc so far.
Yeah, it's 100%. Amazing.
And we're not finished yet. The best is yet to come. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So Kacho and Fugetsu are nearing the exit tunnel, and as the lifeboat is almost in the ocean, a horde of hands surrounds the twins. Kacho realizes that the succession contest doesn't allow escape, and the punishment for attempting so is death. She tells Fugetsu to open a door back to the ship. She quickly makes one as the hands close in. The door slams shut, and Fugetsu is left alone in the tunnel. She repeatedly yells for Kacho when suddenly the door opens, and Kacho appears looking lively as ever. The two hold hands, and Kacho says they'll have to lay low and devise a different plan. Fugetsu agrees, and the two head back to the ship, to one of their bedrooms, lying beside each other and smiling. It's revealed then that the twins' Nenbeasts are cooperative, with Fugetsu's being a tunnel and Kacho's being formless. The ability of Fugetsu's Nenbeast, Magical Worm, uses translocation, with Fugetsu controlling the journey out, and Kacho the journey back. The ability of Kacho's Nenbeast, Without You, allows the Nenbeast to take the form of either of the twins if one dies, protecting the living sister and staying by her side until death. At that moment, Kacho is shown dead on the lifeboat as it slowly drifts out to sea. So sad, dude. Rest in peace, Kacho.
It was gut-wrenching reading that chapter. But that was so incredibly well-written and directed.
Yes. That is such an unbelievable scene in every way. It just the false sense of hope you have when she comes through the door. Mm-hmm. And then...
Just to rip your guts out, showing, they were insta-death. Yeah.
And Fugetsu doesn't even know.
No. And that's the really screwed up part. Like, they're just going to continue as if nothing has happened really unless it like eventually gets revealed, which I can't imagine it won't at some point.
I'm sure at some point.
Which that's going to be even more gut-wrenching once Fugetsu finds out. Man, it's so cool that like they got me to care about this these two princes who didn't really have a lot of like page time before the last few chapters. That I don't know. That was just such a good chapter.
Yeah, this arc and arguably even Hunter x Hunter as a whole is just really good at making you care about people really fast. Like it doesn't take much to make you really care about a character in this series, and this is a key example of that.
Yeah, and Yeah, a lot of this, I think, for this one in particular, is just the relationship being such like a relatable thing that a lot of people can point to and kind of maybe not see themselves in it, but like at least have a lot of empathy for. And so to take that empathy and then twist it and crush it like Togashi did here is, fantastic stuff here.
Yeah, very, very amazing scene. Probably my favorite so far of the arc as well.
I agree.
So with that, already another prince down. We got 11 princes remaining. Wow. So we flash back to before the banquet, 10:30 p.m. on the 7th day of the voyage. Wang is walking down the hallway, talking to another man about their second search turning up empty and hoping to find out what the Hale Lee family are up to. The two come out of a door to the Cha-R family office in Tier 5, and Wang introduces the man to 3 members of the Phantom Troop. The man, named Tajao, is the vice boss of the Cha-R family and the military advisor for Luzurus's army. Wang explains to him that 8 of their men have gone missing so far, and the same is happening in the Ji-Yu family. The total number of missing workers is over 300, and Wang believes that the hitman who murdered civilians in Tier 3 has come down with accomplices to the lowest tier to keep killing. Tajao agrees that quick action is needed, but wonders how this involves the troop. Finks explains that they were looking for someone named Hisoka, but that he wasn't in Tier 5. He says if Tajao can get them permission from the Ji-Yu family to let them search Tier 4, they'll kill the hitman. Finks goes on to describe the hitman's ability and that the hitman is interested in the door that Tajao and Wang came through, the same one they talked about last volume, guessing that it's connected to a higher tier. Tajao says that the Hale Lee family have their own door through Tserriednich, but Finks guesses that maybe the hitman is planning to take out the Cha-R family boss, Brocco Lee. Our boy.
Our boy Brocco Lee.
Wang adds that Tserriednich may also be wary of Morena since she recently took over as the boss, and asked Tajao to get in contact with boss Brocco Lee to confirm whether Morena is in Tier 1. Tajao agrees to do so and tells the spiders that if she isn't up there, they won't be able to get through, explaining that things will turn into an all-out war. Wang clarifies the situation, saying that if a mafia member wishes to make a hit or a raid on another family, they must first let their boss know, and then the bosses strike a deal afterwards to smooth things over. Tajao adds that this must be done within 24 hours of the hit/raid, and that it's imperative that the boss was away from their home turf when the initial incident occurred. Nobunaga realizes that the only place away from their turf are the first 2 tiers, which Tajao confirms. Even though it's been 2 days since the first murder, it's still fine as long as Morena was in Tiers 1 or 2. But if Morena was in Tier 3 and she still hasn't made the call, then a war will inevitably break out. He goes on to say that if the spiders kill the hitman, they will personally be at war with the Hale Lee family, and Nobunaga is fine with that. Wang and Tajao point out that means the troop won't be able to get information or help from the low-level thugs anymore. Nobunaga comes up with a quick solution and offers to take out the Hale Lee family boss personally. It will solve the issue of Morena causing problems, and they may even get thanks from Tserriednich. Finks asks them to verify Morena's location, telling them that they'll gather the other spiders and hunt down the hitman first. Wang and Tajao give each other a look, both understanding how dangerous the troop can be. Onyor Longbao, the boss of Ji-Yu, and Brocco Lee, the boss of Cha-R, sit in their rooms in Tier 1, but Morena's room is shown to be empty. All 3 are known as second-track fakers, illegitimate heirs to the throne who are allowed to live and be compensated under the table as long as they stay out of the spotlight and obey the monarchy system altogether.
So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, this entire section takes a lot of thinking about to truly wrap my head around. And yes. I feel like that's probably the same for most people.
Definitely. I did my best here to explain it. Hopefully it made enough sense. But it's a lot of doing this thing will upset this person, doing this other thing will upset another group. It's just like a whole back and forth of like, you got to make sure you're doing the right thing, I guess, to not upset the right people, to not break out war.
Yeah. And at the end of it, like, really the whole message behind this, everything that's being talked about here is just that the gangs essentially want to, do things in, like, the proper, like, manner, like, systems and manners that, they're accustomed to. And then the Phantom Troop's like, nah, we'll just take care of it personally.
Exactly,
That's pretty much what it comes down to, and they're all realizing, oh, these guys are trouble.
Yeah, they just want to get stuff done. I mean, their primary goal is Hisoka, but they're kind of wrapped up in this whole other thing right now, but they're hoping that these people can help them find Hisoka, so it's just kind of a...
Which now seems to be the thing where at least the 3 of those troop members, they're saying, okay, if we can get everyone together, we can go take out that hitman, and they're thinking that'll lead them closer to Hisoka by being able to get access to the higher tiers that way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's basically, they're doing a side quest right now.
Yeah. Yeah, a side quest on their way to find Hisoka and murder him in cold blood.
Right. In Tserriednich's quarters, the prince is on the phone with somebody who asks about Marina's location. He says that she's not in the VVIP area and has probably been in the lower tiers since they boarded, hidden with the help from her butler. He tells the person to do as they please and that he'll do something about it when he has the time. The prince's guards are sweeping up a mess of blood, hair, and guts with multiple weapons sitting nearby, and he tells them to have the soldiers in the lower tiers search Marina's hideout. He resumes his Nen training with Theta, forming a mass of dark aura behind him. Theta is terrified at the sight, seeing that in addition to his guardian spirit beast created through the Seed Urn ceremony, he's also created a specialist Nen beast through instinct and without intent, calling it his alter ego. She worries that she'll miss her opportunity if she waits too long, as the Nen beasts stand menacingly around Tserriednich. And this panel, guys, oh my god.
2 terrifying Nen beasts is crazy. One that he didn't even mean to summon.
Yeah, through pure instinct created this eldritch monstrosity.
This guy is trouble, man, and we're not finished with him either.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Much more to talk about with him this volume. This guy is nuts, guys. Seriously,
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
He is trouble. She applauds his progress and says that it's time for them to move on to the 4 major principles: Ten, Zetsu, Ren, and Hatsu. So keep in mind, everything he's done up to this point was before even learning about all that.
It's just trying to form balls of aura, essentially. That's it.
Yeah. The prince has been practicing Ten and Ren at a high level already, and Theta says that he'll need to practice every day to increase the power of his Hatsu. In addition, she stresses that mastering Zetsu is the key to mastering Nen. She tells him to close off his aura in sections and then to do so for his entire body, maintaining that for more than an hour. His Nen beast appears to be suspicious of Theta, but she is confident that she hasn't told a lie and that the training is necessary for the prince to learn Nen, ordering the beast to move back. It moves away and Tserriednich begins practicing Zetsu. Theta says to herself that she can do it tomorrow if she has to.
So this is a really interesting tease of potentially what the Nen beast ability is, I guess. And it was just a cool little sequence. You could feel the tension. It was palpable during that when she's just I haven't told a lie yet, back off, as it's growling at her.
Yep.
And it's also, it adds a little more layers to Theta's character, which I didn't expect, about how she's kind of indulging in the selfishness of and seeing how insane this guy is, being natural at Nen in general.
Yep. She has an innate curiosity with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like Theta. I've always been a big fan of her. She's not the most crucial, important character in the world, but I really like the role she serves.
She's really, her entire purpose as a character is really just set up for Tserriednich, but it's still a very good role that she's playing, nonetheless.
Absolutely. So later that night, Theta is going over Zetsu with Tserriednich while his guardian spirit beast watches over them. Theta mentally notes, by the way, anytime I mention a Nen beast here, it's always the guardian spirit beast in particular, because we actually have yet to see the one he created since that first panel, so just keep that in mind. I'll differentiate them if need be at a later point, but not really a need right now. Theta mentally notes that the prince possesses an incredible aura, and that if she is to kill him, she must do it with certainty that it will not fail, due to his guardian spirit piece immediately returning once Zetsu is undone. She decides that the prince should use Zetsu for about 40 minutes. She attempts various distractions to break his focus, and it works, so she tells him that he really needs to focus and let nothing from the outside world bother him. Tserriednich complies, but warns her that he will not budge from his concentration even if she writhes in agony before him. He continues with his training as the beast slowly disappears from behind him. Theta tests the waters by throwing a small ball of aura at him, and sure enough, it doesn't break his focus. She then pulls out her gun. While she is doing this, an announcement is played over the PR system that Melody is beginning her performance. She thinks to herself about how incredible the prince is, and how she wishes he were the type to use his immense talent for the sake of others. If only. She decides to make his death quick and painless, and says that she will follow soon. With this, she takes the shot.
Whew.
He's dead.
Just immediately see the panel. Yeah, brains blasted out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that.
However, at the same moment, Melody's flute performance fills the room with the same sights as earlier and takes Theta by surprise. With this, Tserriednich's corpse is gone from the room, confusing Theta. The bodyguards rush in once more and point their guns at Theta. Tserriednich materializes behind her, stating that the gunshot is part of their training. He boasts to her that he didn't flinch from the gunshot, confusing her even more since she saw him drop dead before her. Yeah, so by the way, whenever she shot him, we really did see he dropped to the floor, blood and brains all over the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Looked like he was dead.
It looked like he was gone. Yeah.
One of the guards scolds Theta, while the other asks if Tserriednich is all right. Theta falls on her knees, and one of the guards suggests that she should rest. Then the prince's guardian spirit beast returns to warn Theta that if she answers the prince's next question with a lie, she will no longer be human. So the Nen beast is talking now. Theta then falls unconscious.
The font was also very stylized with that as well.
Yes.
It made it extra terrifying. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Theta, if I were you, I would not fuck with that Nen beast anymore.
Yeah, I think you should tap out here.
Yeah.
A bodyguard then talks about how it appeared that time skipped a moment, but Tserriednich seems unaware of this. They then inform him of Melody's performance, causing strange visuals, and he asks for them to bring her to him. Theta awakens from a nightmare of a deformed Tserriednich asking if he could trust her. Salkov, which is the guy that talked to her like really early on, like in the first volume of this arc.
Yeah.
Salkov has been watching over her and assures her that it has only been 15 minutes since she passed out. He urges her to take a break, but Theta doesn't want to, having achieved this much and come so far. He gives her a mirror to see the extent of the damages that the beast did to her. Salkov also explains that the first nick on Theta's cheek was a warning for her lies, and the second lie is what left the brand on her face. So yeah, she kind of has like... It doesn't exactly look like a brand, but it kind of. It's like...
It's like scarring, kind of.
Yeah. It's hard to explain exactly, especially because we can't really see color, but it seems like maybe a burn mark. I don't know, something. Just it looks bad.
It's like her face is corroded almost.
Right.
Yeah.
He warns her that if this continues for a third time, she might face a punishment worse than death.
I don't even want to imagine.
No. Theta argues that she can't leave things as they are. Salkov reasons that they should calm down and think more thoroughly, since the Guardian Spirit Beast might be planning to turn her into the prince's pawn. Salkov repeats that Theta should get some rest while letting him handle things. When Theta asks him how he'll do it, he tells her to come up with a plan while resting, much to Theta's annoyance. Yeah. They continue to talk, and Salkov tells her that he tested the spot with luminol where she saw Tserriednich's body and there was no blood. Theta wonders how much of what she saw was an illusion and plans to carefully consider what to do next. Give it up for day 9, guys. Here we go. Day 9.
Day 9.
Day 9. Melody sits in the Justice Bureau on Tier 2. The investigator checks on her, informing her of the suicide note that Kaige left, saying he acted alone in the twins' escape attempt. He also tells her that a few of the princes were so impressed by her performance that they've invited her to their suites. So more than just Tserriednich is interested in her now.
Yeah.
As he asks her more questions, Melody realizes she's being kept for so long to protect her from the dangerous princes. She asks about the twins, and he says that they're also being questioned and that they said Kaige forced them onto the lifeboat. However, he has no evidence to prove or disprove that they were forced or if it was their own idea, so he will continue questioning them. Melody thanks him and plans to use the time she has to consider her next move. In Hulkenberg's quarters, Sumidori, the guard's sacrifice so Hulkenberg could fire an arrow. Oh, that's right. Lies asleep on a table with a device on his head to monitor brainwaves. They theorize that Sumidori's soul has possessed the body of Shikaku. With Sumidori/Shikaku, I couldn't really figure out what I should call them because I don't know. We still don't actually know, but both.
It's largely Sumidori talking just through
right.
Shikaku's body, so just keep that in mind as we're going through this section here.
Yeah. Saying that it doesn't feel different from his own body. They then wonder what happened to Shikaku's soul/consciousness, and Hulkenberg proposes 4 options. 1, it's gone and Shikaku is dead. 2, it's in the body of Sumidori. 3, the 2 souls are coexisting in Shikaku's body. And 4, it's somewhere or in someone else. Hulkenberg is determined to find out and also tells his men that once he talked with his father, he gained the resolve to win the contest and this ability awakened in him. He shares a hypothesis with them, but no dialogue is given. Afterward, he makes it clear that he's not sure if it's possible since he doesn't know exactly how Nen works, hoping to consult an expert to get information or to get confirmation. He asks Sumidori/Shikaku if he will do something which is vital to understanding his ability. Sumidori/Shikaku gladly agrees, and Hulkenberg thanks him. In Lazarus's quarters, Basho feels another rumbling of aura from Hulkenberg's room and worries about how powerful his ability could be. The doorbell rings, and Sumidori/Shikaku stands outside as a guard asks him what he needs through a phone and speaker. Sumidori/Shikaku suddenly shouts, "Long live His Highness, First Prince Benjamin," and shoots himself in the head.
Wow.
Dang.
That was a little extreme. What a visual.
Yeah. The guards are obviously stunned and rush out to the hallway to see the body. Basho then feels the rumbling stop. Balls tells Benjamin that Shikaku just killed himself, most likely due to Hulkenberg's ability. The two agree that Hulkenberg is now the biggest threat. And Benjamin tells Balls to summon Kanji Doll from Lazarus's quarters to make him remember everything. In Hulkenberg's quarters, Sumidori wakes up, tied to a chair, and sitting opposite to him, Hulkenberg asks him for his post and service number, but unfortunately, we don't get to see the answer, so we still don't really know what happened here.
Right, but it's so wild to me that just like in that moment, Benjamin's like, "Yep, Hulkenberg's the biggest threat now. Like, give it up. Like, no contest, even kind of from how they were talking."
Yeah, dude, this is a big Hulkenberg volume. He is on the rise. He's making moves.
Yeah, that's crazy. Even Benjamin's like, "Yeah, no, this guy has to go." Like,
yeah,
it is scary. That's a scary ability, being able to just like use your followers like that for such a powerful ability.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh man, and they don't even know exactly what it is. We don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's effective.
It sure is. Yeah. So back at Kurapika's Nen class, he and Bill feel the rumbling of aura, and Bill guesses it was from the 9th, 7th, or 5th prince. Sakata is unable to feel it since he's not a Nen user and asks them about it. From the way the aura instantly vanished, Kurapika surmises that it was an emitter attack, which can very easily penetrate barriers, but worries most about not knowing who was attacking whom. The class has 1 week left, and the students are starting to get restless, unsure if the training will actually work. Kurapika decides to move on to the next step tomorrow, and then brings everyone together to introduce water divination to them. He singles out one of the female servants, Ladiolis, praising her for being a quick learner. Babamina realizes Kurapika's strategy of picking Ladiolis is to show that Nen talent is unrelated to gender or physical strength, hopefully causing the meatheads to train harder. Kurapika stresses that one should never disclose their Nen type, so they will perform the test behind closed doors with only him and Bill present. Satobi quickly objects to this, but Kurapika explains that they'll be performing the test in a way that requires assistance from him and Bill so that they can meet the 2-week deadline. He adds that the information on their Nen types is payment for the class and to offset the risk to himself. He explains that they should have no reason to be wary, since the only reason Kurapika is teaching them Nen is to empower them in order to prolong the stalemate among the princes. He ends by saying that if they're unconvinced by his reasoning, they can quit the class now. Furikov is glad to know that Kurapika finally admitted his intentions out loud, but also remarks that learning that he is a specialist is pretty insignificant. He then asks Babamina if he wants to swap with Rihan. Babamina says Rihan is focusing on Tubepa's Nen Beast after destroying Sale Sale's, so we know his next target.
Mm-hmm.
But Furikov says Tubepa's is refusing to show itself. He asks him about Wobel's Nen Beast since his report was due yesterday, but Babamina says it hasn't shown itself either. Unsure if Wobel is too young or if the Nen Beast is a counter-attacking type. He tells Furikov to stay patient since it's only the first week. Back in Tserriednich's quarters, once again, Salkov has taken over teaching and can't believe that the prince is already working on the 4 major principles. Yeah, he's got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Tserriednich tells him how he's working on shortening the response time of his Zetsu, and that when he can get to less than a second, the two will spar.
Good luck
Salkov's
to him.
gonna die, I think.
Oh, I don't want to be that guy.
No. Salkov is worried by how quickly the prince is learning, and Tserriednich adds an out-of-pocket comment about having a change of heart and how he finds 2-faced women to now be pretty cute.
A little creepy. Fitting for his character, I suppose. But.
That's for sure.
Ugh.
Yeah, he makes your skin crawl, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We now flash back to the night of the banquet again, where this time we get to see the events that unfolded between Theta and Tserriednich from Tserriednich's point of view.
Strap in, guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Okay, so Theta gives him the instructions of his Zetsu training, telling him to close his eyes and maintain Zetsu for 1 hour, unperturbed by any interruptions from her. Same thing as we just talked about. Once Tserriednich eventually closes off all of his aura, he sees a flash of static and then an overhead view of himself and Theta. The two exchange words in a vision, and he wonders if it's a dream. There's more static, and he loses control of Zetsu, opening his eyes. Theta begins saying the exact same words she said in the vision, and Tserriednich realizes it was a look 10 seconds into the future. Oh no.
That's scary, yeah. But wait, there's more.
There's more. Tserriednich focuses on trying again, worrying about not being able to move while watching the vision, and that he has to risk being defenseless for 10 seconds to see 10 seconds into the future. He closes off all of his aura, and the static and the vision appear once again. The vision continues even past the first 10 seconds, and he's able to move since time is advancing, being able to feel Theta in front of him in real time, while also seeing the Theta 10 seconds from then in the vision. Theta moves in the vision, picking up a coffee and dropping it to startle him out of Zetsu, so in response to this, Tserriednich maintains Zetsu, and Theta has the same reaction, and he realizes that Theta sees him as he was in the vision, and that only he can change his actions in the 10 seconds. He exits Zetsu and tells Theta that she can do whatever she wants, but he won't react at all. He re-enters Zetsu and begins toying with Theta by opening his eyes and talking to her while she sees him with his eyes closed and not talking. He continues maintaining Zetsu and watching the vision when suddenly, to his surprise, Theta draws her gun as the royal concert announcement comes over the loudspeakers. Tserriednich quickly moves out of the way, falling to the floor, but remembers that Theta will see it as though she shot him in the head. Theta fires, and Tserriednich suddenly sees a beautiful landscape around him. The same thing we saw before. At first, he wonders if this is his Nen ability. Yeah, right, dude, you couldn't make something like that.
Yeah, no way.
But then understands that it's someone else's. He then thinks to himself about how fun the world of Nen is.
That's a scary thing for someone like this to be saying.
Yes, indeed. The two guards enter the room and hold Theta at gunpoint, all that again. After Tserriednich reveals to Theta that he's alive, he says to himself that he'll ask her why she tried to kill him later. Events play out the same as the last time we saw this, where he asked one of the guards to invite Melody to his quarters. Tserriednich says that confirming his ability is more important than Theta right now, so he goes over everything he knows in his head as follows. When he closes his eyes and maintains Zetsu, he gets a vision 10 seconds into the future. As long as he keeps his eyes closed, he will continue to see the vision while reliving the events he saw 10 seconds ago. He determines that he must reduce the time to enter Zetsu as well as increase his skill at maintaining it. He declares that once he can control Zetsu and master his ability, he will dominate the battle for succession and the world.
So, essentially, the goal is to, because he mentioned before, he wants to be able to enter and exit Zetsu within like under a second. Mm-hmm. So the idea, I guess, is to be able to just enter Zetsu for literally half a second, and in that half a second, he sees 10 seconds into the future. So he's not as defenseless for that long of a time.
Yes. Because the 10 seconds seem to be a set thing.
Yeah.
It's always 10 seconds.
Like he lives those 10 seconds out within the time he's in Zetsu is how
right.
I'm interpreting it, at least.
I believe it could also be that he just wants to use it to see literally a second ahead, so he can just like slip in, see the next punch, and then dodge it or something like that if he's in a fist fight.
Right. This is where the graph actually helps, because it says close eyes and achieve Zetsu, and then you see 10 seconds of the future taking up no time in the real world. So it's literally instantaneous. He experienced those 10 seconds into the future.
Okay. Right. So yeah, that's how it works. It's not as complicated, really, as you might think it is. It is complicated for sure, but this is I know, Dylan, you won't really understand this reference, but this is pretty much the exact same thing as King Crimson from JoJo, which a lot of people also claim to be really confusing, but it's really not. He's basically cutting out a chunk of time that only he can act in. Well, he's not even. Well, that's King Crimson. Tserriednich isn't cutting anything out. He's just seeing it, acting in it, and it will change it to follow what he did after it happens.
But only he experiences that. Everybody else within that vision would experience what the predicted future is.
Yes, until after that 10 seconds, and then it goes to whatever the aftermath is of what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So he's got world domination aspirations now too, so that's nice.
What a guy to have those kinds of aspirations. Oh,
yeah.
Not good, guys. Not good.
Not looking good. He is very scary. And this is one of the craziest Nen abilities we've ever seen. This is wild. Like, the things he could potentially do with this is unthinkable.
It's there's really no other way to put it. And as an aside, I'm going to feel so bad for Salkov whenever they eventually spar, because good lord, if he has intent to kill during that spar, oh man, I can't imagine what he's going to do.
Oh my god, I know. That poor man.
I imagine he maybe won't do that, considering he's still trying to learn. But if he gets to a point where he's just confident in himself and nobody else, poor guy, GG. It's a wrap.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, that's enough of Tserriednich for now. Mm-hmm. As Kurapika, Bill, and Ladiolus are behind closed doors performing the water divination test, Satobi, Mayor, and Long He worry about giving Kurapika so much leeway and possibly playing right into his hands. Firikov assures them that if Kurapika attempts any kind of manipulation through Nen, they'll be able to tell and would arrest him and Bill on the spot. Though both Firikov and Bobby Mina realize it's best to let the two do as they please, so they can find out their abilities. Bobby Mina theorizes that Kurapika has a manipulative ability that opens a person's nodes semi-coercively. Since Kurapika's aura would be mixed in, Firikov could tell if the person was being controlled when they walk out of the door. They also consider the possibility that Bill's ability is the real problem, and that all of this could be an act to hide its importance.
So it's interesting, or it's funny, I guess, that like Bobby Mina's like not that far off with his first theory, in that like he has a manipulative like ability, but it's not like he's coercing or controlling the person. Yeah, so that's where
it's a roundabout way that I feel like you really couldn't predict. It's a very odd way of making it happen, but
which just goes back to what they both of them, Firikov and Bobby Mina, what they both brought up before, in that Kurapika being a specialist tells them absolutely nothing. It could be literally anything.
Yeah, that is like the worst thing to learn about your opponent if they're a specialist, because it's just like, all right, I don't know.
Literally, it's gotta wait and see.
Yeah. The doors open and Ladiolus walks out. The amount of aura around her has definitely increased, and Firikov even says that it looks the same as someone who had been practicing the basics 3 hours a day for a year. He says he can't be sure with just one example, but he doesn't think she's being controlled. The two servants try to ask Ladiolus about the test, but she says she can't talk about it. Kurapika explains that he placed a gag order on all of their results until everyone has taken the test, and if anyone violates this, he will end the class altogether. Mayor is up next, and Kurapika and Bill lead him to the other room. A glass of water with a seed at the bottom sits on the table, and Kurapika tells him to use it, or tells him it will be used to show a successful awakening to Nen. He continues by saying that one way to learn Nen more quickly is to force it by using a Nen attack, assuring him that the term attack can also mean healing and lending abilities in this case. Bill puts his hand around the glass and the water overflows and the seed sprouts. Kurapika explains that Bill is an enhancer whose ability allows him to cause the growth of his target. Mayor is stunned and asks if his ability will be awakened by Bill putting his hands near him. Kurapika says no and explains that he will instead borrow Bill's ability and lend it to him, which will semi-coercively awaken Nen within Mayor. Kurapika tells him that he can still back out now if he wants to. However, the next thing we see is Mayor exiting the room with aura surrounding his body the same way as Ladiolus. Firikov again confirms that there's no manipulation involved. Bobby Mina is now convinced that Kurapika is using his specialist ability to cause them to awaken their Nen, but worries that he most likely has multiple abilities, one for each finger on his right hand.
There we go.
So he's getting there.
Yeah.
But still, that means he just has to figure out 5 abilities now.
Yeah, it doesn't make the job any easier. No. he hit the nail on the head there. He's like, okay, yeah you're right now.
Yep. Long he asks Mayor if it worked, and he confirms it and says that he is feeling as if he's filled with vitality. Both Firikov and Bobby Mina worry about the amount of aura, with the latter considering the possibility of Kurapika hosting even more Nen classes and giving even more people access to Nen.
I want to note as well that this is actually, we finally kind of know what Bill's ability is, which is kind of
a little bit.
It's nothing, it causes the growth of his target, which is interesting. I don't really know how that could play into things.
They'll actually talk. I hope I wrote it down, but they'll talk a little bit more about it later and just how it's an odd ability to choose for yourself, given his field. But who knows how it could have some nuances that we aren't aware of.
We shall see.
So the next student enters the next student to enter the room is Yuri, a maid of Prince Kacho's, and Kurapika gives her the same explanation, loaning Bill's ability, which is revealed to be called Bulb Fleabane, weird ass name too. I don't know. To her through Stealth Dolphin. He tells her that the aura is borrowed, so the ability and therefore the type identified isn't her own. Once she learns Ten and Hatsu, she can perform the water divination test on her own and keep the results to herself. So they aren't actually learning the types of anybody they're teaching here.
No.
He adds that he hopes the succession contest claims no more victims and asks Yuri to see if Kacho and Seiko would be willing to send more people to another round of classes. Bill thinks to himself about Kurapika's strategy, and while he believes it's best for what's going on, he worries that his newfound power could corrupt some, and they will end up being crushed by the very power they gave out. Yeah, he hopes Kurapika has... Yeah, very interesting. He hopes Kurapika has countermeasures to deal with that possibility, but is confident he does. Kurapika gets Bill's attention and thanks him for being so open with his ability. He asks him if he wants to continue, considering the possibility that he may not make it to their real destination. And Bill explains that Beyond stationed him aboard the ship, but he himself chose to be a guard for Wobble, having hoped that there wouldn't be any real combat since she was just a baby. How wrong he was.
Oh, yeah.
He was conflicted about running away once people started getting killed, but when Vincent showed up, that pissed him off. And Kurapika's conversation with Oito got him to prepare himself for the worst. He calls himself a coward, but Kurapika tells him that cowards don't steal themselves. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hashito and Sakata interrupt the two, the former asking Kurapika if he can take the test since Temptori is going last. As he wants Zhonglei to have guards who can use Nen as soon as possible. But Kurapika denies his request, saying that he hasn't learned the basics yet, and his body wouldn't be able to handle the after effects. Sakata realizes how important learning Nen is, and considers doing at least the basic training, since they'll be there longer anyway.
So, just from reading that whole section, made me realize I was wrong about Bill's ability being whatever, considering he's saying he's scared that they could be crushed by that variability, which is very odd wording. I don't really
know that's not he's saying, just the Nen in general that they're giving out, because they don't get to keep Bill's ability.
That's what he meant by that. Okay, yeah. You're right. My bad.
Kurapika's taking it back after. It's the same thing that happened to Oito. It's just that was with a different ability.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, they're thinking even further ahead. All right, my bad, guys.
Yeah, you're good. Mayor and Longhee return to Prince Tubepa, informing her that Wobble's camp is most strongly allied with Zhonglei, and that Kurapika's Nen training worked extremely well. She's glad to hear it, telling them to continue negotiations for an alliance and allowing more of her guards to attend future classes. She is so obsessed with getting Kurapika as an ally. It is like all she talks about. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's literally every time she's on a page, it's just, I need Kurapika. I need Kurapika.
It's really funny. Rihan watches on, worried about Tubepa's Nenbi still not showing itself, and wonders if he should go after Hulkenberg's instead. Don't try it, man.
Don't do it, man. Yeah.
He then remembers Ball's words about staying patient and considers the possibility that Tubepa's Nenbeast could be even more dangerous than he would have thought. Never know. Then we get the very infamous page that I'm sure you've seen it somewhere in your life.
It's actually... I remember seeing this quite a few different times throughout the years. It's actually insane, just even with context, though. Like... I can't believe this was a page that was created.
It's a whole page with 2 illustrations on it and all words.
Very basic illustrations, too.
Yeah.
It's not really much of anything.
And it's all Rihan talking to himself. Like, what? This is what we're spending a page on?
We owe Kurapika an apology for all the yapping he did towards the beginning of the arc, because this is next level. Dude,
I mean, it's Rihan's job to overanalyze, so I guess it makes sense. But my God, this guy can yap. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was stunned flipping that page and seeing that. That was crazy.
So I'm not going over all that. It's really not that important. It's on the same level as Kurapika's whole thing that he does sometimes, but even crazier because it's Rihan thinking, I don't care, man. It's Rihan. He is interesting, but I don't need to see that much.
Yeah, I think we're about to go over what it summarizes.
Yeah. To briefly summarize what exactly Rihan is thinking about here, he worries about Kurapika's Nen classes and the stalemate that could result if these keep happening the way they are. He considers going after Kurapika, but he realizes it could be a problem if he really does have 5 abilities, since that may easily counter Predator. He thinks about his ability, more about his own ability, and can't stop worrying about the threat Hulkenberg poses, especially after the incident with Shikaku. Balls is anxious for Rihan, but he's unable to give him any advice since it would lessen the effectiveness of Predator. That's like a flashback within this whole thinking montage. He thinks about the incident with Shikaku, wondering what kind of ability would have made him commit suicide. He considers the possibility that Shikaku offered his own life in exchange for Benjamin's safety, but realizes Shikaku would have known that Benjamin despises begging for one's life. Those are the main details. Everything else he says is just kind of stuff we already knew, but he's coming to terms with it himself and placing it in the context of himself. Not important, really. Yeah. You read it, you know.
This is kind of like a tangent to this, I guess, but reading this made me also realize that, he is a guard of Benjamin, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm just now thinking about the possibility that Rihan could die and then Benjamin gets access to Predator, which is a very scary thought.
Very much so.
But yeah, that's a tangent. Just something I thought about in the moment here. But yeah, Rihan, professional yapper.
Definitely, yeah. So, from one long string of thoughts to the next, we now see that Tsubepa is thinking about Sale Sale not attending the banquet and surmises that he must have been killed, given that he never would have missed performing. That's also where we find out that he was going to rap. Damn it.
He was a rap god, evidently. Never got to saw it, though.
Yeah. Maybe that's how he was going to change the world, just by showing off his sick rap skills.
Yeah.
And since Benjamin's soldiers were swapped out, she thinks it must mean that she is their next target. Smart.
Yeah.
She resolves to figure out Sale Sale's cause of death and whether he was killed by Nen, hoping to draw up a list of countermeasures. She gives a flash drive to one of her assistants, Heisen, hoping that giving a mission to someone who's recently awakened Nen will affect the ability they develop. Maybe.
Yeah,
she considers looking up the shift logs for Benjamin's soldiers, but realizes that would draw suspicion. She continues to weigh her options, but shoots almost every idea down. She worries that Mayor isn't ready to deal with threats involving Nen, and says that she absolutely needs Kurapika once again. Of course. It's now 11:30 a.m. on the 10th day of the voyage. Kurapika, Bill, and Oito all feel the 4th rumbling of aura. Kurapika notes to himself that the intervals between them are getting shorter.
Spooky.
All right, give it up for day 10. Day 10.
Woo!
Day 10, even though we're flashing back to day 9 in the next paragraph. All right, here we go. This is the bulk of this episode.
Oh, man.
Coming up next is the single. I've read a lot of manga, guys. This is the most wordy chapter of any manga I have ever read in my life. Almost every corner of every page of this chapter is text. There is so much text in this chapter. It is unbelievable. It feels like a whole volume worth of content. It's absurd. It's all good and interesting, but my God.
I can vouch here. I've seen Kaige talk about many a different manga series before and all the different aspects of them. Yeah, I trust his opinion on this is the wordiest chapter of all time.
It's wild how much information is crammed into this chapter. Just scrolling through all, it's crazy. It's like, how many pages did I even write? It's like 5 pages of just this chapter, I think.
Yeah, so, yeah, strap in, guys, again, I guess.
All right. Here we are. So here we are at 10 a.m. on day 9 in Benjamin's quarters. Kanji doll, which is the one that was in Lazarus's quarters, recounts to Benjamin and Balls the events that transpired in Lazarus's quarters. He goes over all who were present in the room with the prince while he was watching a movie and doing drugs, as per usual. That's as classic Lazarus behavior.
Fair enough.
He tells them that Shikaku shouted, "Long live Prince Benjamin," before shooting himself. And the rumbling then stopped.
Before I move on, I want to mention he's doing legal drugs. That was noted.
Yes, it was noted. Legal drugs. So, Kanji Doll surmises that an ability close to Hulkenberg was directly responsible for Shikaku's suicide, and that it was possibly forced to assure Benjamin's safety, since an emitter ability could have been used to attack him. Balls agrees with his assessment overall, but there are 3 issues with his theory. First, he explains that Hulkenberg would have had to fire the attack through the rooms of the 11th and 13th princes in order to reach Benjamin in the VVIP area. He believes that even if Hulkenberg had decided to go all out, he would never carry out a plan this quickly that had forced a suicide that had a forced suicide or involved sacrificing the lower ranked princes. Second, if they were able to control Shikaku and give him an order, he asked why they didn't get him to assassinate another prince. Third, he brings up the theory of whether princes are able to kill one another. Both he and Benjamin have theorized that the contest would be over already if the Nen Beast could kill one another or the princes themselves. He surmises that since killing a royal is a capital offense even for a prince, it's easy to assume that the Nen Beast would also be bound to this law.
Smart.
Yes. Accordingly, he says Hulkenberg's Nen Beast would never support an ability capable of killing a prince directly. Kanji Doll asks about Shikaku being manipulated, and Balls still wonders why he committed suicide, saying since he was a manipulator himself, he should have manipulated himself first to block the enemy's attack. He tried. Balls tells Kanji Doll that the key to Shikaku's suicide is understanding why he did so in front of Luzurus' quarters. Kanji Doll's mission is now to remember anything else he can and to monitor what everyone else does in room 1007 from now on.
Crazy. I want to note, though, that Karapika dodged a bullet by not getting Hulkenberg like he expected to at the beginning of the arc.
Yeah, I wonder how that would have played out. Because that's so weird to think about him being involved with him.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what would have the events that would have gone down. It's a fun what if scenario though.
It is, yeah. Yeah, so something I also noted about that section is it really seems that Benjamin's crew is the only ones that are really actively trying to figure out the rules. That's a big focus of theirs.
Yeah.
No one else is really bothering with that right now.
You wouldn't have expected that going into this contest as well, that Benjamin would be the type to take his time to understand everything before, murdering everybody in cold blood. Because that's the impression you get out of him. But no, he's calculated.
He is.
Which makes them all the scarier.
Yeah, he's a very scary one. So back to day 10. At 11:30 a.m., Benjamin and Balls feel the 4th rumbling of aura, noting the same thing as Karapika about the intervals getting shorter. They then worry about what's happening with Vict, since he is now stationed with Hulkenberg. Suddenly a voice, I don't know why they sent another person there, honestly, I would not have bothered with that.
No.
But whatever. Suddenly a voice that keeps... also, I guess Benjamin does have a lot of guards, so maybe he can just dispose of them as he pleases.
That's true. And, he still benefits even if they die, if they have no abilities. So, I don't know. Not a whole lot of risk, I guess.
Yeah, not really. Suddenly a voice that keeps breaking up comes over the radio, saying that it doesn't work, mentioning that Hulkenberg and something about a bow and him being invincible. Just a bunch of gibberish kind of coming through the radio.
Yeah.
The man screams and Benjamin turns off the receiver, confirming it was Vict. Already down, potentially. We actually don't really know what happened with him, but...
Can only assume.
He had hoped that Vic's ability, Tackle Shield, would have at least kept Hulkenberg in check. We don't know what that ability does, but we know the name. But he underestimated Hulkenberg's aggression and the power of his ability. Hulkenberg is scarier every time we hear about him.
Yeah, he's just no weakness from what we see right now.
No. Given said power, Benjamin assumes it involves using his entire team, and Balls adds that they may have to sacrifice one of their own for every attack. Jeez.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. Looking at the 4 stars on his hand, Benjamin confirms Shikaku's death, but says Vict is still alive. He wonders if they should move Muse's owl from Camilla to one of Hulkenberg's guards, but Balls advises keeping it on Camilla since they know even less about her ability given how quickly it killed Muse. So that also confirmed something. I had thought that Benjamin was aware of her ability whenever she stormed into his quarters like that, but I guess he was just being really overly cautious by not shooting her, and he made the right call.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to point out here that we do know a little bit more information about Hulkenberg's ability now, and that, you know, Shikaku is dead for sure, right? But Vict is still alive, meaning that his soul or consciousness or whatever, like it's still there somewhere. He's not, whoever gets hit by the arrow, they're not dead immediately. They're in there somewhere. They're just possessed or controlled to some degree.
Assuming that is what happened to Vict and they took over his body again, we can probably with that assume that the one Hulkenberg theory about it being both souls inhabiting the body at the same time is probably what happens.
Yes.
But we don't know for sure yet.
Yeah, because if Vic died, you know, Benjamin would have the star on his hand or whatever.
Right.
But that didn't happen. So he's still there. Just we don't know what's going on with his consciousness, essentially.
Right. So he has a plan to deal with Hulkenberg, explaining that since the killings in the lower tiers are requiring soldiers to be redeployed there, and their own soldiers are experiencing anomalies, they have the evidence and motive to arrest Hulkenberg on the suspicion of premeditated murder. This will allow them to separate the prince from his men, hopefully neutralizing his ability for the time being. 5 men from the Restricted Voyage Permit Agency's Special Task Force then arrive at Hulkenberg's quarters, including Steiner, who is finally named on page. Here it is.
How many chapters has it been since he's been a character?
He was like one of the first characters we met. This is like chapter 2 that we covered on this podcast.
So about 50 chapters. And he's finally named.
There we go. Steiner, guys. I was saying it before anyways. That's what the wiki was claiming. But finally we get to actually see it with our own eyes.
That's funny.
So there he is. He's back. There's also another guy that was named there. I forgot to write it down, but I don't know. We'll see if he's important or not.
Yeah.
They then proceed to take Hulkenberg into custody. Balls confirms to Benjamin that Hulkenberg cannot contact his men until after the trial. But since Vic's whereabouts are still unknown, he explains it's likely that he will be released due to insufficient evidence. My God, I could not say that word. But be put under surveillance, just as Camilla was for the incident with Muse. And so, the two plan to make their move at Hulkenberg's trial. So that's another hyped up event now. Hulkenberg's trial. Meanwhile, in Tyson's quarters, Izanagi tells Giuliano that it's time to change shifts, coming upon him reading the book of Tyson. Since the book is full of classic song lyrics, Giuliano says it's hard to put down, adding that he was wrong about the prince and that he would love for her to become king, but says that it's completely against her principles. He says that the book feels like a parting message from her. Izanagi warns him about getting too emotionally attached, and that their mission is to protect her until they reach the new continent where their real job begins. Giuliano knows this, but is unsure if he'll be able to move on and say goodbye when he can see the upcoming tragedy, as he calls it. He leaves Izanagi, walking to the main room to start his shift, and is startled by everyone waiting for him as they wish him a happy birthday. He's confused since it isn't even his birthday, but Tyson, holding a cake for him, tells him that that's why they're doing it now, since they'll have to say goodbye before his actual birthday. She says that she's glad to have met him, and if she botched the cake, just say that it's delicious.
So, this raises more questions than answering anything for Tyson. But
every time we see Tyson, we get more questions.
It does seem like to me, though, that like something bad will happen to Tyson eventually, and they all might be aware of that, or at least Tyson is, and that's kind of feeding into whatever ability is at play here. I don't know. It's interesting stuff. You know, the upcoming tragedy feels like it's a parting message, like the book, like something's off here. Yeah,
it's interesting. So in Lazarus's quarters, Kanji Doll's attempt to get more information from the guards proves unsuccessful, and he begins to theorize on his own. He guesses that Shikaku died in front of room 1007 in order to create a diversion, possibly involving the 6 guards that Queen Dwazil has with Lucerus. Hulkenberg may have taken that opportunity to use the guards to do something, but Kanjidal worries why he wouldn't have just used them to assassinate Lucerus. 2 of Dwazil's men, Odessa and Gado, were sleeping when the incident happened, so he suspects that they did something to Skert or Makne. Weird name there. Skyert? I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
Who were also sleeping at the time.
Tagashi has a way with words.
Yeah. He believes none of Dwazil's men know Nen, but says he can't be sure since he's not as good as a judge as Furikov. He wonders about questioning those 4 since it would make them suspicious, deciding to wait and see instead. He guesses that they were trying to manipulate Makne to assassinate Lucerus, and if that's the case, he won't interfere since Benjamin would be fine with that. In addition, like Rihan, he considers the danger that Hulkenberg poses and wonders if they should prioritize eliminating him over investigating Lucerus' quarters. But he realizes that patience is key and admires Benjamin and Ball's discipline. He then approaches Basho, asking him if he'll cooperate with the investigation. Basho is immediately upfront, saying that he thinks Dwazil's men are plotting something that Makne and Skert should be put under observation. And that Makne, sorry, I combined that sentence together. Yeah, he thinks those 2 should be put under observation. Mm-hmm. However, he tells them that Lucerus is opposed to the idea and that Dwazil's secret to success is inaction. Adding that Lucerus thinks she doesn't need help. She doesn't need help, any prince? What did I mean? What was I cooking?
And what were you cooking?
Doesn't need help, any prince. Adding that Lucerus thinks she
doesn't help any prince.
Doesn't help any prince?
Yes.
I guess. Sure. Doesn't help any prince. He also warns him of the possibility that her men are hiding their ability to use Nen, as Kanjidal agrees with him and walks away. Basho reveals he was just feigning that opinion and actually believing that Benjamin's men are behind everything and that there's an ability that activates through Shikaku, taking his own life. He explicitly cites post-mortem Nen and believes that they staged the incident in front of Lucerus' quarters as a red herring while also trying to blame Hulkenberg. He thinks they may be going after one of the higher-ranked princes. Finally, he worries about others utilizing post-mortem Nen and considers it another thing to be on the lookout for, along with the prince's Nen beasts.
So that's actually an interesting theory from Basho that I didn't really consider as a possibility. I'm not even sure if that is what's happening, but it's another. It just goes to show there's so many factors at play here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It is very interesting, and I feel like it's likely that isn't the case, but we don't know. I mean, these are some smart dudes.
Yeah, so. At the very least, this does highlight post-mortem Nen is a very real thing and is a even more terrifying thing to be considering through the succession contest.
It's consistently a big theme of this arc, for sure.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And that also makes me think now, while we're touching on it, that Kasho's, her Nen ability by, transforming to one of the 2, or the Nen beast kind of transforming to one of the 2 sisters if one of them were to die, is kind of inherently post-mortem Nen. So I wonder if maybe there's more that, than meets the eye with that. Nen beast in general, the Nen kind of surrounding that ability. I don't know. Something to think about. We'll have to
see. Yeah, we haven't seen it again since this volume, so.
Because it was also specifically framed to protect the other sister, that's still alive. So
the protecting wording is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
In the VVIP area, Camilla sits still under surveillance. Moswana, one of her soldiers, stands nearby and looks at a picture of Benjamin in her shirt pocket, saying to herself that she's been thinking about him every day and will curse him to death so Camilla can take the throne. Okay, so now we get a very lengthy explanation of a new mechanic, and I'm just going to read it word for word as it appears in the text.
It's needed here.
Yes. All right. Many ancient kingdoms had a custom of sacrificial burial. Ancient Kaige had a peculiar practice of afterlife companions. Afterlife companions were used to supervise princes who were unable to become king in the land of the dead, to prevent them from turning into vengeful ghosts that curse the king or the country. Though it was supposed to be an honor, they were compulsively selected from the have-nots, the lowest of the immutable caste system. The custom of the afterlife companions fell into disuse, but the caste remained, and they were forbidden from holding public office or joining the military and holding rank. But Second Prince Camilla gave all the have-nots the opportunity to join her personal army, constructed a special ward on her private property, and gave them the same status and rights as the armed forces. With their overwhelming support of Second Prince Camilla, they spontaneously called for the reinstatement of the afterlife companions. Combined with Nen abilities, they transformed into powerful curse assassins. So, to dumb it down a little, basically, they... Oh, actually, you know what? Here, I'll just read the bottom part first before I talk about all the people here. They carry their target's name, a photograph, a piece of clothing, or like a bodily... Something, just something about the person. They carry it on them at all times and consider them with every breath. The curse becomes stronger the more time goes on and the closer they are to their target. The ability is activated upon their death, and the ideal way is to commit suicide in the target's presence. So they're cursing them all the time. They're thinking about them all the time while holding an object. That's all they do all day long.
Yeah, so when the curse gets strong enough, when they have the opportunity to do so, they will commit suicide in front of their target and will pretty much kill them.
Correct. So our people here, there's one assigned to every prince. We got Bucket, who is assigned to the third prince, Zhonglin. We got Hignori, who is assigned to Tserriednich, Gidal to Bepa, Burvena to Tyson, Lisam Seta to Lucerus, Kako to Halkenberg, Mosbe to Kacho. Guess he's not doing anything now.
Yeah. Nope.
Meishi. Oh, wow. What is that? Meishish?
Meshish. Yeah, something like that.
To Fugetsu and Taylor to Mariam. There's a few more too, but whatever. Right, like this lady. Sarah Hell, a lady with a very angry-looking face and one of Camilla's soldiers, who was assigned to curse Wobble, is confident Shikaku wasn't a have-not. So yeah, I was actually just about to say, like, it's interesting that nobody brought up that idea, because that seems very much like that.
Yeah, actually. Whoa. Wait, nobody questioned that?
Yeah, I guess not.
Interesting.
I guess because, I don't know. Yeah, I would have questioned that, even if it wasn't like... Because, yeah, I mean, Shikaku obviously wasn't aligned with Camilla, but I don't know. There could have been something going on.
It kind of reads to me like Tagashi came up with this have-not system after the fact. He's like, oh, this would be cool.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know. But says he may have used the same kind of curse. So there you go, I guess. Yeah, maybe. But still, nobody else thought about that except her.
Nope.
At least yet. In case Camilla gets herself cursed, they have a Nen exorcist named Umanima on standby.
Sure.
Love Togashi names.
Umanima, maybe? I don't know.
Umanima, maybe. Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know anymore, man.
Who could say? The two have-nots who were assigned to Momose and Sale Sale are told to investigate whether the enemy have any exorcist of their own. The ability of the have-nots, called Hell Fruit, is further explained, adding that once they've cursed the target every day for a period of time, they burn the object they've been carrying and drink an infusion of the ashes. They then will use a dagger to commit suicide. Afterward, the target will be deprived of aura, and if the curse is at its most powerful, they will feel the curse's effects under enforced Zetsu, resulting in death after a few hours. This is a crazy mechanic, guys. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do something about this soon.
Yeah, literally everyone could be wiped out just
Yeah.
very easily, it seems like. And I don't know. Just another thing to add on top of the craziness going on this freaking boat.
Yeah. Sarahel worries about the prince's Nenbeast, also considering the Hunter Association and the possibility of them having an exorcist aboard the ship. She summons the major domo, Fukataki, and asks her if the 10th, 11th, or 13th prince is the best target, hoping for the prince to live a few days while they see if the hunters have an exorcist with them. Fukataki gives the timeline for the curses, but another soldier informs Sarahel that Kacho and Fugetsu are currently being held in custody for an escape attempt. Fukataki says it would now take 6 months for the curse to take effect on them, so Sarahel has no choice but to send Taylor after Mariam. Still, Fukataki quickly points out that cursing the princes will be very difficult since their Nenbeasts are protecting them. The only chance they have is to commit suicide right in front of a prince while looking into their eyes. Wow. Sarahel decides to take on the task herself, planning to attend Karapika's next round of classes and curse Wobble while she's there. Why are you going after a baby, man? Come on.
I mean, easy target, I guess. But
yeah,
come on. It's just
low
a baby.
blow. Fukataki warns her of the danger, but Sarahel assures her that she has nothing to lose, given her status as a have-not. Alright, so a new person will be joining Karapika's classes, apparently.
Very scary person at the...
Yeah. In Zhonglei's quarters, Tenfdori informs the prince that the training was successful and they'll continue to improve during the remaining days of the class. He can now see the Nenbeasts, and for doing so, Zhonglei rewards him with one of his coins, saying that he's the first to receive one. But standing nearby, Koven Toba knows that he was actually the first recipient and notices that the number on his coin has gone from 1 to 10. And with that ends the wordiest chapter of manga I have ever read. Chapter 389, I Will Never Forget You, for better or for worse.
What a crazy chapter. I can't... Even just reading it like a few days ago, I already forgot just how much they crammed into that chapter.
It's truly crazy. Unbelievable. Like, everything I just read feels like there's just no way that could be one chapter.
It felt like 3 chapters minimum worth of content.
At least. It's crazy just how much he crammed into that chapter. Oh my god.
We're through it now, though.
Yes.
We are going into the last chapter now of the volume.
Yes, in much better time than I expected, honestly.
Yeah, same.
Koven Toba is very confused about the number of his coin changing, and he wonders if it is a different coin, but he still feels the same aura as the first coin. He asks Tenfdori if he can see the coin he got, and confirms that it also has the number 10 on it. Zhonglei ponders his ability and works out that its real intended use is probably for after he becomes king. This gives him the resolve to win the contest and vows to win the throne in his own way. He decides to head out and go to Onyor, the GU family boss's room. Koven Toba reports the movement to his superiors. To
elaborate on this a little bit, he suspects that this his Nenbeast is mainly, for use after the succession contest, like after he becomes king. Yep. Because he himself is not a very, he thinks about, whenever he's thinking about the succession contest, essentially he's admitting to himself that he only ever thinks about, what'll happen after he wins. He hasn't really put a whole lot of effort nor thought into how exactly he'll get to that result. And so he's suspecting that his Nenbeast is kind of manifested the way it has because of that. And he suspects that the coins specifically are... probably have something to do with distributing them out and maybe controlling some people or getting influence with people he distributed them to. We don't really know. He
says maybe he could hand them out as badges of honor, or he speculates maybe it could even use as a form of currency. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's also a line in there that I really like where he's he's talking about the Nenbeast and he's like, this thing is so much like me that it's scary or something. Yeah, I really like that line. So inside Onyor's room, Zhonglei asks about his health. Onyor admits that his doctor is bugging him about his diet, but he wants to live his life the way he wants. Right on, man.
Yeah.
Zhonglei informs him that 3 of his siblings are already dead from the succession battle, which does not faze Onyor. And yeah, it's really interesting to me that Zhonglei knows that Kacho's dead.
Oh,
how?
Yeah.
Like,
literally how? What?
Nobody knows that. So that's interesting. That really, really stood out to me there. It's a very casual drop, but it feels intentional. Like,
he's the only prince that has, outright stated, like, yeah, he thinks he knows Kacho is dead.
Mm-hmm. And even everybody else just speculates Saleh is dead. I mean, that's a more obvious one, but he's the only one so far to bring up Kacho. We didn't directly bring up Kacho. He just says 3 princes are dead. How does he know that, though?
How does he know that? Yeah, because even with Saleh, we saw Tibet, but even pretty much confirmed, like, yeah, no, they say Saleh hasn't known us, but he's dead. Like, there's no way he's not.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that only Zhonglei is the one that knows about Kacho. Something's up with that. I'm just not sure what.
And I guess it's not necessarily true that he knows it's Kacho, but he at least knows that 3 princes are dead, which definitely no one else knows.
Something to keep in mind going forward, I suppose.
Yeah. The prince asks if Onyor knows anything about Guardian Spirit Beast or Nen, but he knows absolutely nothing about those, though he does say that he knows that some of the younger members of his family use weird powers, and he says he will ask them about it. The two part ways, and Onyor summons Hinri to discuss the circumstances involving the Hailey family. Hinri suggests that they should crush Marina first, while Onyor asks about the spiders. He then orders Hinri to find Hisoka on Tier 3 while they give access to the to the spiders to search on Tier 4, hoping that they could control the Phantom Troops' movements this way. Onyor also adds that while they search for Hisoka, they should kill Marina.
And so this is all prompted, but also by they searched Tier 4 in its entirety, essentially, and did not find Hisoka there either.
Correct.
So he is neither on Tier 5 nor Tier 4, at least according to the family searching. And and also the spider's own findings, I suppose.
Right.
So Tier 3 or above, that's where he's at, supposedly.
That's right. Yep. How high will we go?
Mm-hmm. That's scary to think if he's on Tier 1, man.
Ooh, I don't even know how he'd be there. But
I don't know how, but like, the possibility is there.
Yeah. Upon receiving the orders, Hinri calls upon 2 new characters named Lynch and Zakuro for assistance. When Lynch asks about the manhunt, Hinri confirms that they have more targets this time, prompting Zakuro to say that he'll need more units of blood. Little hint at his ability, which we'll see in like 10 seconds. They all proceed to Tier 3, where they spot 2 members of the Hale Lee family in a burger joint, reacting to their presence. The male Hale Lee family member sends his female companion to inform Morena. Hinri goes after the woman, while Lynch and Zakuro confront the man. Lynch tries to ask him some questions, but another guy comes up from behind and cuts Zakuro's neck with a knife. The first member then kicks Lynch in the stomach, effectively starting a fight. Meanwhile, Hinri learns from the female Haley member, that they are registered as civilians in the Black Whale, not Mafia members. Therefore, if they were to start a fight here, it would mean they are just attacking civilians, and they would get arrested.
Dang.
The fighting continues, and Zakuro easily subdues his opponent using his Nen ability, Bloody Mary, which he can use to manipulate his blood at will. Pretty simple one. He thanks the man for cutting him, as it takes a lot of nerve to cut yourself. Lynch then also attacks her opponent using her ability, Body and Soul, which she can use by hitting her target after asking a question, making the target's inner voice respond. Only she can hear the response. She uses this to try and learn the basics of Haley's goal and Marina's ability.
This is a neat one. Really sick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, we get to see it. She's just like punching this dude, and thoughts are like coming out of him as word bubbles.
Yeah, this was really good paneling.
Really
illustrated really well. I really like this.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. It's a neat one. Henry returns to make his subordinates stop, informing them that these are civilians according to the papers. A pair of soldiers arrive and agree to let them go on the condition that Henry and the others do not return to Tier 3. Henry promises to do so whilst offering bribe money and touching the soldiers' guns at the same time. Mm-hmm. As they are leaving the floor, the soldiers notice that the barrels of their guns have turned into live snakes.
Imagine looking down at your gun and just seeing that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And then gunshots fire from the snakes' mouths, killing the soldiers, obviously. We end off the volume revealing that Henry's ability is called Biohazard, and it transforms a weapon or machinery that he touches into an animal that he can control, while still retaining its original functionality. That's really interesting.
That is such a cool ability. That's really creative. I love that.
Yeah, that's a cool one. And with that, on a chapter called Clash Part 1, we went on hiatus for 4 years.
That is the most comical thing of all time. Part 1.
Part
4-year wait. Or part 2, maybe.
Part 2. Oh, that was so funny. So yeah, this was the chapter that marked the big hiatus that lasted until obviously 2022, where we got the next 10 chapters that we'll talk about next week.
Oh my gosh.
Thoughts on this volume, Dylan?
This was a really, really good volume. It obviously had my favorite chapter of the arc so far with Kacho and Fugetsu trying to escape the boat. That was just a very memorable chapter all around. That being said, this was also a very wordy volume, like heavily wordy towards the latter half, especially. Yes. That's not to say any of it was it's kind of in a similar vein as last volume, I suppose, and that not to say any of it was disinteresting, far from it. But yeah, those last couple chapters, or like chapter 388 through 89, was, oh man, that was insane stuff.
It's some heavy reading. You gotta definitely sit down and focus when you read this stuff.
Mm-hmm. And there was also some moments where it was a little confusing to kind of navigate what was happening. Had to reread some pages and that kind of digs into the pacing of actually reading a volume at times. But again, really enjoyed the bulk of this volume, especially the Kacho and Fugetsu stuff. Tserriednich, I want to learn more and more about him as time goes on, even though I'm terrified to learn more and more about him because that guy is insane.
Yes.
And I don't know. Yeah, I really feel the succession contest as a whole is heating up to a really intense degree now, and I'm really curious to see where that leads us to.
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't agree more. I really think, other than the Hisoka Crollo volume, this is easily the best one we've covered so far. So many great moments. I didn't realize how many amazing moments were crammed into this volume. Like all the Tserriednich stuff is here with his ability, and the Kacho Fugetsu, Sale dying, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's I suppose you could say it's pretty top heavy, because we sort of get into like exposition again after that section, but I mean, it's all interesting stuff. It's just getting more pieces on the board, I guess.
Yeah. There is an argument to be made that maybe there's too many pieces on the board to really get invested in a ton of the different angles and factors that are going on. But I still find myself really invested in a lot of it. I would say maybe the most disappointing thing so far is that every time it cuts to the spiders now, it feels very almost disregarded almost in terms of everything else that's happening on the boat as well. It feels like there hasn't been a whole lot of movement with them. But
let's check out next volume.
Yeah. There's more to come. But as I feel right now, I want to see more of that develop, I think.
Yeah, I do think, I said last volume is kind of the end of the setup, but I think this is more so the end of it. There really isn't much setup in this volume, really. It's more just we added this one new faction, which is the
have-nots.
The have-nots. So now I think officially, unless I'm blown away, and then when the manga comes back, we get another faction introduced, which I really hope not.
Never doubt Tagashi.
Yeah. I really think this is the end. Where we got all the pieces on the table for sure now. I really think so. Except Hisoka, I guess we still haven't seen him, and that is definitely a big piece that we still have yet to see.
When he appears whenever he appears again, that's going to be a revolutionary time. Oh man, stuff will be going down.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, I love this volume a lot. It was very hard to write about, which is why I had to cheat a little bit, but didn't make me enjoy it any less. It was great stuff.
Yeah, I think we got through it pretty efficiently. I think.
I thought this would be way longer, so that's nice.
Yeah, good stuff.
Right. Well, with that, let's. What do we got next, Dylan? It's on you.
Yeah. So we have some listener comments again for this episode. Couple of comments from the last video and one comment from the community post as well.
Yes, thank you. We got one.
Yeah, we got one finally. Thank you guys. So first comment here is from Rex, a regular from our comments on the show.
Yes.
This one is from the last video, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Hey there again. I agree with you that this volume is the weakest in this arc so far, but that does not mean it's bad. In my opinion, it's just a lot tamer and a lot of setups for new plot lines. I admit that the multiple cutaways is jarring for my part, but I understand because Togashi's given us an overview on the Black Whale, what is happening, and how these multiple characters interact. This volume actually contains one of my favorite character introductions, which is Morena.
Mm-hmm.
I liked how Togashi introduces her in a very eerie and disturbing way, and I am always hyped for Phantom Troop. However, I believe these multiple setups will have an incredible payoffs, mostly, I guess, to the conclusion of this arc. Togashi is one of the mangaka that I believe sticks the right landing on his arc. I even doubt his ability in the Chimera Ant arc because the middle part of it is super slow and uneventful. However, it pays off greatly in the end. And to add on, Togashi is really dishing political commentary in this arc and the inequalities because of the class system. It just went over my head because most of the characters are not really discussing it, like how the justice system treats regular people differently, and the royalties, differently as well. There's a classism. The Succession War actually is propelling to be one of my favorite arcs in the series, and it really depends on how it will develop and conclude. I couldn't really agree more with you on a lot of that. I liked your point about the showcasing political commentary within this arc without really saying anything out loud. I think that's a good observation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also really, really love Morena's introduction too. I'm glad you brought that up. It's so compelling and interesting how she's brought into the story, and we have yet to see much of her beyond that. But I have no doubt. I mean, she got a volume cover. She's gonna be important at some point. I know it, no doubt.
Yeah, really interesting abilities too. Interesting. I mean, that introduction for her character was spectacular. Just immediately got me to, be interested in her within a few pages. So, very good work there.
Yes.
And then next comment. This is from the community post, also from Rex. Thank you, Rex. I really appreciate you, contributing to the community post and fulfilling Caige's wish.
Thank you.
Actually, Volume 37 has some of my favorite moments in this arc so far. It starts strong and intense, but it gets tamer as it ends because Togashi is setting up again. LOL. Yeah. It kind of says exactly what we were talking about at the wrap up of this overview, recap. So, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you there.
We have two more comments. Both of these were also from the last video, I believe.
Also both questions, so that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm down to answer them. So first one is from Final Form Keith. What are your favorite Spider members? Like a top 5 or just some favorites? I gotta go with Franklin and Phaeton for mine. Kaige, I'll let you begin.
Okay, so yeah, I go back and forth on this all the time, honestly. It's really hard because I'm not gonna count Crollo. That's not fair. He's
Crollo's in a tier of his own.
Yeah, he's more explored, obviously, than all of the other ones. I also won't really count Illumi because we just got him. But I do quite like Illumi. So I really like Nobunaga. I think he's probably my number one behind Crollo. He's really emotionally interesting to me. His head's always in a really weird, or not weird, but interesting place. He seems to have some level of compassion to him, which we've seen a little bit with Gon and Killua way back when. And other favorites, not really a top 5 exactly, but I do like I like Machi quite a bit. she's cool. Phaeton also is pretty sick. He's kind of like the edgelord of the group, but he's cool. I like him,
to say the least. Yeah.
And Shizuku also, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite aside from Kurlo because a lot of them are kind of very. I have similar feelings for, I guess. And like you said, Kurlo is kind of in a tier of his own. It'd be unfair to pick him as my favorite.
Yeah.
He's just so different from the others, more explored. My favorite, this is both from a design point as well as just like, I don't know. Machi is probably my favorite overall. I really liked her design since she was introduced like way, earlier in the series. It's kind of one of the first troop members we ever saw, right? Working with Hisoka.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I want to see more of her character explored, especially now seeing this more intense version of her, post Hisoka Kurlo. So,
yes.
I don't know. I'm really invested in her as a character right now, I think, especially out of all the Phantom Troop members. So, probably got to go with her for now. And then other favorites, Nobunaga as well. He's, very layered still. Mm-hmm. Probably has even more room to explore as well going forward. Curious to see if any of that will come into play going into... the Phantom Troops eventual meetup with Hisoka. And then other favorites, I really like Shizuku a lot. She's funny, if anything, with her ability.
Very funny.
Yeah. And then I also really like Franklin as well. Yeah, his design is really cool. I like his
great
kind
design.
Of like, I don't know.
I did really like his moment in the last volume too, where he's just like stone cold about like everything that lady's trying to ask him about. He's not budged on anything.
Yeah, he's all business.
Sitting at the table waiting for Hisoka. That's his strategy.
Yeah,
he's a cool one.
That was like a good like characterization moment for him, and maybe all right, Franklin might be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good picks yourself as well, definitely with Franklin Phaeton. I really like Phaeton as well.
Yeah. He's cool.
Yeah, appreciate the comment. And then our last one is from @KnowItAll. I have a question about Rihan's Predator. Would it get affected if the person they're analyzing says what their ability can do? This might count as outside help and stop Predator, but based on this theory, Rihan's personal understanding could turn their flat-out statement of what their Nen can do as a lie. My Nen has the properties of rubber and gum, for an example, but Rihan sees all the wacky stuff Hisoka can achieve and assume they must be lying to me. Anyways, love the recaps and videos. First off, thank you for the comment and liking the recaps and videos. Hope you continue to watch as we keep uploading, and happy to have you along for the ride. Yeah. And then secondly, I guess Kaige, you'd probably be more equipped to answer this question. But I would think that is an interesting theory, in that like if you perceive it as a lie, would that really count as outside information? But I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I did end up responding to this guy on the comments too, but I wanted to elaborate more on here because it's a really interesting question, because the one thing about this that you didn't mention there was also just the fact that it's the person and themselves talking about the ability. Does that count? Because I mean, is it outside help?
Yeah, it's
because like you're learning it from them still. I guess it's not an observation, but they're telling you themselves, so it's still information. God, that's such a weird one. I don't know. Like, I assume just based on what we've heard that if he learns it from anyone but himself, really, then it would just end up neutralizing the ability, or at least making it less effective. I guess not outright neutralizing it straight up, but because that's also like a crazy counter to his ability. If somebody knows how it works, somebody could just walk in and start yapping about their ability, and then he's done. He can't do anything. Like, he's just completely useless. It's one of the most interesting abilities we have seen in the series, I think. It has so many intricate rules that it's hard to answer questions like that. It's fun to theorize, but really, I don't know. Yeah, and lying also is another thing, like, or at least perceiving it as a lie, because, man, I don't know. It's so weird. How does the Nen itself know what is fact? Like, how does it know?
That's the thing. That's the thing, because this ability is written as if it's wrapped around like the user using it and their understanding. But like, it's questions like these that make you think, like, is the Nen ability kind of like an omniscient type thing that like it knows what information is true and what isn't? Like, that's
because what if he's wrong in his assessment? Does it still power it up or what? Like,
it's like
really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was framed before that, like, you know, he could make wrong assumptions, and like when he unleashes the predator, it could just be not as effective as he would think.
I guess it's like a gamble anytime he, like, quote unquote hatches the egg. Like, he probably doesn't exactly know what it's gonna look like when it comes out, but he's just assuming that based on what he's figured out, it'll be as big as he's thinking it is, or whatever, you know. So
right.
I don't know. It's really interesting though, and I hope. I also said this in his reply. I hope we get to see more of his ability before he inevitably dies somehow. I'm sure he'll end up dead.
He's gonna die at some point. Just don't know when. Maybe even against two Beppa's Nen Beast. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. I guess we still could see it even more after that, though, with Benjamin using it too. So
that's a scary thought.
Benjamin's gonna be wild by the end of this arc, man. I don't know who's gonna take him down. I don't know who's all these like big boys. I can't really envision. This is obviously something we'll talk about in a future episode more. But like, I can't envision how these guys are going down. They're just so intricately planned out and making the right moves at all times that I don't know. And Benjamin is the top example of that.
Yeah. Literally, like, all of the upper princes are like wild with their abilities. I don't know how anybody could conceivably kill them. I guess the point is that they'll kill each other with those abilities, but it's just wild to think about. Even
Zhonglei, who definitely seems like the most killable right now, is he's smart. He's really damn smart.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. He's definitely the one of the upper princes that I could see being killed. Like, I see a path for that, but I could also see his Nen Beast becoming a problem. We don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the original point though. Yeah. Predator's an interesting ability. I hope we see more of it before either, I don't know, Beppa or Hawkenbird kills them off inevitably. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that was a really good question though. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a very good discussion point. Yeah, I believe that's all the listener comments we have for today's episode.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for submitting questions. We'd love to hear from you again. And remember, the community post will be up every week, same time as usual. Let's get more than Rex this time. That's the new goal.
New goal. Make Kaige happy. Make him proud.
Yeah. All right. And with that, this has been the Hunter Association. Thank you so much for listening. We are available on all major podcasting platforms, as well as YouTube for the video version. Be sure to follow, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be here the same time every week talking about Hunter x Hunter. Dylan, where can people find you online?
Yep. So I'm mostly active on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at DJ Tengen, DJTENGN. You'll be able to know it's me as soon as you get onto the profile. I mainly tweet about video games and manga, anime related topics. If you're interested in content like that or tweets like that, retweets related to those communities, be sure to check it out. Would love to connect.
Yeah, and for me, you can find me at Kaige10. That's KAIIGE10. Same kind of tweets, you know the drill.
Yep.
And yeah, so next week this is it, guys. Dylan will be caught up. It'll be volume 38, which will be chapters 381 to 390. Or no, sorry, 391 to 400.
Yeah, so final volume before the last hiatus that we've been on. And then I believe that next week also we'll have a better idea of the podcast episodes we'll be creating between then and the wait for Hunter x Hunter's comeback. So be on the lookout for more information on that. Yeah, we'll talk about it throughout the week, I'd imagine. Iron out those details, and then we'll see you guys for that. And also, fun note, this is we'll be covering that volume the week it comes out in Japan. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. All right, and so we'll see you guys for that. Make sure to read that volume if you're reading along. Submit to the community post if you read it. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Yep. Thank you for watching.